Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Musical Connections Podcast, second half of the show. This is Next to Connect, and I am your host, Zach Snow. I connect with musicians and industry professionals to talk about their careers and brand new projects. Well, this guy really needs no introduction. He is a former podcaster, he's a filmmaker, a concert promoter, and he is first and foremost a singer-songwriter and a musician, with his fourth studio album, Long Way to Go, set to come out this coming Friday, November the 8th, with an album release show at the Ship Pub on November 9th with opening act Andrew Rogers. And joining me to talk all about it is the multi-talented, but unfortunately he's a Leafs fan. You can see it on his head there. Dave Whitty, how you doing, brother?
I'm well, Zach. Thank you for having me today.
And thank you so much again for coming on. Congratulations on your fourth studio album, Long Way to Go.
Yeah, it's exciting. I'm really, like you say, excited to get this thing out there. It's been a long time coming. We've been working on it for a long time. I mean, these things aren't made overnight. They
absolutely not.
They take quite a while, and there's a lot of work that goes into it. And on top of my film work as well, it's been an interesting juggle of both art forms, I guess. But once again, really excited to get this thing moving and get it out there for sure.
Absolutely. Now, you recorded this in Nova Scotia with Peter Green and Joshua Van Tassel. So you guys rented out a cabin and you recorded a bulk of the album and as well as the drums as well. Joshua Van Tassel, very talented musician. One thing I'm very familiar with Joshua Van Tassel is he produced the Fortunate One's best album to date, I find, and that was You and Me. So what was it like recording this album with Peter and Josh?
It was really neat. I mean, first and foremost, Peter Green produced this record. I mean, he had his hands all over this record. I can't say enough good things about Peter and the work that he does and has done for this record. He lined up Josh to do drums. So I guess how the process kind of went was, starting from the beginning, I did a bunch of bed tracks, I guess, not bed tracks, I guess demo tracks more than anything. At home, I sent them to Peter. He started working out some arrangements. And he suggested we hire Josh to do the drums. I wasn't super familiar with Josh's work. I knew he'd worked on the Fortunate Ones record. He also did a Donovan Woods record, and I'm a huge fan of Donovan Woods, and I love that style of folk drumming. It's not four on the floor, if you will. It's not the it's got a real unique kind of flavor to it. So Peter suggested. He said, he I don't want to say he warned me, but he did give me I don't know what the word. He gave me some, I guess, a warning of some sort that Josh is an interesting drummer. He's a very unique style drummer. And he would probably take these songs on a different journey than maybe I had pictured in my head. And, after releasing 3 records previous to this one, it excited me to do something a little different, I want to say, So, we hired Josh, and Josh has a nice little studio there at his home in Nova Scotia. And we went down there for 2 days. So we spent 2 days in Josh's studio recording all the drum tracks. And it was really neat. It was a really cool hands-on experience. We got to chat about the songs and kind of work on them, as opposed to sending the songs off and receiving the songs back with drums added to them. I really got to, have my 2 cents on how I felt about certain tracks and as well with Peter as well. So, I mean, I can't say enough good things about Peter and Josh's drumming on this record. It's very unique. It's not your standard drumming by any means.
Oh no.
So I'm thrilled with it, to be honest with you.
And from what you sent me for newfound releases, I featured Ducks in a Row and Long Way to Go. And Where I Belong is the song that I featured back in July. It's a great record from what I've heard so far, and I'm looking forward to hearing the whole thing. Now, I want to go back to when this all started for you, Dave. How did this all start?
My music career, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's funny. You kind of mentioned me in the intro there. It's funny, as I get older, I definitely am a singer-songwriter, but when people ask me what I do for a living, I just say I work in the arts. I mean, it's kind of what it is. I do so many different things. I mean, like you mentioned, I promote concerts and I write songs. I put out records, so I record. I'm a recording artist. I also am a filmmaker. I work in the film industry. I've done podcasting. I do narration. I license and sync music. There's a whole broad list of things, but getting back to your original question there, when it comes to being a songwriter. I kind of always had it in me, to be honest with you. When I was really young, before I ever played an instrument, I was always writing. I always had a notepad, and I always loved the idea of putting words together. I always found that really, really cool. And you know, I wouldn't say poems, but I was always like rewriting different songs and trying to come up with different word plays. I always loved that idea, you know, and I have a broad range of musical tastes. I mean, I love hip hop music, and I love folk music. I love punk rock music. I love Celtic music. I love traditional music, rock, everything. I'm a big fan of all styles of music. So when it comes to the songwriting process, that always felt natural to me. I mean, as a songwriter. So, I mean, really, realistically, I picked up a guitar when I was 14, 15 years old. To be honest with you, I got grounded. My mom grounded me.
What?
I was a bad boy.
Oh,
man. And I got grounded. And, you know, my mom said at the time, you know, there's no TV, there's no internet, there's no video games. And she had an old acoustic guitar sitting around the house that she played when she was much younger. BC Rich Acoustic. I still have it actually at my cabin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's my cabin guitar now. But
awesome.
I picked it up, and she had a little chord book there, and I taught myself 4 chords. And by the end of the weekend, I had my first song written, and it was called Proud Newfoundlander. And it was a starting point. And I remember the song still. It's 4 chords. And, you know, I remember a lot of the lyrics. I have an old recording of it at home somewhere. But that was the real start of that process for sure.
Yeah, did you ever record that Proud Newfoundlander track like on one of your solo records, or when you were with At Ship's End?
I never, but so before At Ship's End, actually, I played in a band called Moat Cove, which was when I started that band when I was maybe 16 years old, and we played my high school graduation, and then after that, we started doing a few all ages gigs downtown, and it was all my original stuff. So we played Proud Newfoundland, and I had a bigger catalog than probably I have now of old songs that I had recorded and played with Moat Cove. We never really released anything. It was more of a starter project, that kind of thing, right? But
so Moat Cove?
Moat Cove was the name of the band, yeah.
So how do you spell that?
MOKECOVE.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was it was a high school band, but it was fun. It was a great way to start off my band career. It got me a taste for the stage. It got me a taste of playing with a band and kind of leading a band, because that's a big part of it. As a songwriter, when you're hiring a band, you have to be the leader. You have to be in charge and make sure everybody knows what they're doing, and you have to be able to give some direction, right? So that's a huge part of it.
For sure. And one of those bands that you ended up really breaking through was with At Ship's End. Now, you got to play a few shows over the past couple of years, and I believe, were you at Iceberg Alley this past year? And I believe you got to open up for somebody. Billy Talent?
It was Billy Talent.
That was pretty crazy. So tell me about your how that group all got started and how you got involved.
Yep. So At Ship's End was a project we started when I was probably... I'm going to say 21 or maybe 22 years, maybe 21. Yeah, roughly around there. So Moat Cove, we weren't playing much anymore. And At Ship's End originally started as a 7-piece band, a 7-piece trad band. And all the band members were all from Mount Pearl, all where I'm from. And there were a lot of my high school friends and my buddies I grew up with. And, they were looking to kind of start a band, and we started playing Pogues covers, honestly. We had 7 members. We had every instrument that you could name. Everyone played 2 or 3 instruments, and we were playing a lot of Pogues covers. We started doing a couple backyard parties and all that stuff. And what's funny about At Ship's End is it escalated very, very quickly. I mean, it was crazy how fast it went. So we did our first show on Tibbs Eve. And that's where my Tibbs Eve shows came from.
So that's how it started there?
Correct, yeah. So
wow.
We started doing At Ship's End Tibbs Eve shows. And that was at Junctions, which is, I think now, it's been so many different places. It's Velvet now is what it is. Velvet Club is what it is. It's a club.
Velvet Club.
Eventually, before then, it was a rock venue. I mean, it was a music venue. And one of the nicest venues, a nice big room, big stage, great lights, great sound. So we put off our first show on Tibbs Eve. I think that was, probably 16 years ago now, maybe 17 years ago. And we sold out Junctions. That was our first show we'd ever played. And we sold out. 300 people, probably 250, 300 people. You know, a lot of friends, a lot of family came down, and it was a great kickoff to Christmas. I think we played that night. I think we played 24 covers and 1 original.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it was fun. But, we took that band, we toured across Atlantic Canada on a couple of different occasions. We released, when I was with the band, we released an EP and we released the music video, Have You Ever, we collaborated with the Kitty Vitty Brewery on. And, it was, once again, another great introduction to performing with a band, some bigger venues, bigger stages, bigger audiences. And it really, really cemented what I wanted to do and who I wanted to be. It was a great, real starting point to that. And what's been really nice, Zach, is the last couple of years, I'd left the band, not for any personal reasons, more so I wanted to start a solo project, and I was really more interested in pursuing my solo career. And the guys went and released another record, and then they all kind of went their own ways. The last couple of years, we've after getting a couple of big calls. I mean, last year we got a call from the George Street Festival. We opened up for the Dropkick Murphys. Like, I can't think of a better band to open for that style of music. It was perfect, right?
Yeah, because that music is you start playing Pogues covers when you start playing in bands. And funnily enough, like one of the bands that were really inspired by the Pogues, you get to open up for them. Full circle moment, hey?
It actually was. And that band is also, it's a little rougher around the edges. It's not a traditional band. It's not your typical traditional band.
But it's like Celtic rock.
Exactly. So to open up for the Dropkick Murphys, it's perfect collaboration there, right? So after that had happened last year, I kind of said to the guys, because everyone in the band's a little bit older now. Everyone's got some people got kids and they have other careers and all that stuff. But I said, this is a good band that we could probably do a few gigs in the summers with. We don't have to devote all of our attention to. Everyone's busy, but we should keep this in our back pocket for doing a couple big festival gigs. And if the calls come, we should take them. And luckily enough, the Iceberg Alley called us this year to come down and open for Billy Talent, who's one of my favorite bands. I mean, I'm a huge Billy Talent fan. So getting the chance to go down and open up for them, be backstage, get to meet the guys, and also get to watch the show from side stage. Get to watch these guys really do their thing up close and personal. I thought was such a cool thing to happen.
What would have, say, 21 or 22-year-old Dave Whitty said to himself, to the current Dave Whitty now, that like multiple years later when you joined At Chip's End, that you'd be opening up for Billy Talent? What would he say?
I'll tell you what, I don't think I would have believed it, to be completely honest with you. From the start of the At Chip's End, it was, we were playing and, obviously Junctions was our first bar show, but before that, we would, like, someone's dad would hire us to play in the backyard, So, like, starting from that to go in and play in Iceberg Alley, sold out night. I think 5,000 people was the biggest night they had down there. 4,500 people, or roughly.
Larger than the Trad night?
It was the biggest. They had the most people in the tent that night that they've ever had. Apparently, that's what I heard. And
because usually the Newfoundland Trad night usually is the night that sells out Iceberg Alley.
I know. So maybe it was on par with that. But I think of last year, I think they had. Since they upped the size of the tent at that point, I think it was the biggest show that they've had there with capacity.
Yeah, after that, the old tent was destroyed by Hurricane Larry.
Yep, exactly. So, I don't think I would have believed it. Go back to your question there, but it's a real honor to continue to do what I do and to get these opportunities to open up, for some of my bands that I've loved since I'm a child, right?
Yeah, and you've owned their CDs and their cassettes, and you've played them like nonstop. So again, to open up for them is like a full pinch me kind of moment there.
It really is. I mean, Billy Talent, honestly, like I grew up. It's really funny. I grew up as a diehard fan of Great Big Sea, and also bands like Billy Talent, NoFX, Pennywise, Bad Religion. These are street skate punk bands. Two completely different genres, but they were the things that I really liked. Like Billy Talent. I mean, when I watched them perform after our set at Iceberg Alley, like I knew every single song. I knew every single song they played. I mean, like I'm a really big fan. So, not only to get the chance to open up for them, but to get a chance to meet the guys backstage and, just kind of shoot the breeze with them a little bit and get to know them a bit. And, they were very kind to us and, took a couple pictures and stuff like that. So yeah, very, very cool moment.
Is there anything that they told you that you'll take away for the rest of your life?
They were just happy to be here. As always, people love coming to Newfoundland. These big bands, they always love coming to Newfoundland. It's always a big stop for them. And
Oh, 100%.
I think a big thing that they always say is that, I've gotten over the years is to keep being yourself and keep being genuine. I mean, I think as Newfoundlanders, we definitely have that as well, especially when we travel abroad. People are very keen on Newfoundlanders and the charm, I guess, maybe it be. So, that's one of the things, that they generally say is, just keep being yourself and just keep being you. And, things will always work out, right?
Yeah, you say you started as a Great Big Sea fan, and then you were fans of like Billy Talent, Bad Religion, NoFX, and all these skate punk bands. Who are some of your influences that you take help craft your music?
I mean, like you say, I definitely just named a couple of them, but once again, I have such a weird, eclectic taste in music, and not that you don't know who the bands are that I like, but it's just such a broad horizon of genres, I guess, But listen, I was a diehard Great Big Sea fan as a kid. I mean, I knew every single song inside and out. And that goes the same for the Fables, the Irish Descendants, the Punters, all these bands I adored as a kid. Like, I mean, they're the songs I learned how to play on guitar first, But then as I got older, I started listening to a lot of skate punk and hip hop like Notorious B.I.G. and all the great hip hop artists I've been a huge fan of. And a lot of Canadian folk, rockers, I guess, like Matt Mays, I'm a huge fan of. Joel Plaskett, the Tragically Hip, Blue Rodeo. I mean, all these bands are great, songwriters, and that's what I'm really drawn to now more than anything is great songwriting, and great playability and great production, obviously.
For sure. Now, one of the things that you've dabbled in during the course of the COVID-19 pandemic, where everyone was really weren't doing anything, you started your own podcast, and I think your first episode that you recorded was, I believe, before the alpha wave came, and then we were all locked in again. But you had some really great guests on your podcast. You've had Mozzie, which I've had on his podcast before. Peter Green was actually your very first guest. You've also interviewed Justin Hocko. You've also featured fellow Media Person of the Year winner Greg Smith. You featured Sandra Lee Layden, a well-known photographer, and she's known for taking really amazing photos, especially with the Glorious Suns. What are your favorite memories about doing the Dave Whitty Show?
Zach, you've done your homework, I see.
Yes, I have.
The podcast was a really cool thing for me. I mean, it's something I could see myself doing again somewhere down the line, maybe when I'm not so busy. But, I'll tell you, there's a couple elements to the podcast for a reason why I started it and why I brought on the people I did. So my whole mindset, I'll be honest with you, I think I told you this before, but
yeah,
the real reason I started that podcast was so I could talk about the Leafs on it. All I wanted to do was talk about hockey. I mean, we're in the middle of COVID, not in the middle of COVID, but COVID was rearing its head. There was a lot of, uncertainty going around.
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted a place to kind of just vent about sports more than anything. Oh, that's the truth. You know me. I'm a huge sports fan as well as a music fan, right?
Leafs suck.
Anyways, I'm a huge sports fan. And then I thought about, I have quite a reach in the community. I know a lot of people, not only musicians and songwriters, but I have a lot of friends in the film world. I have people who are authors. I know cooks. I know chefs. I know photographers and whatever. I mean, just different art forms and different, people who do different things. So I thought, what a great opportunity, especially while we're all locked inside. I mean, to reach out to people and just have a conversation, and let's push record it and put it on the internet. That was one reason. Another reason, and I haven't really told too many people this, but another thing I'm always thinking about is, trying to keep yourself relevant, I guess, And what I found was very tough during COVID was, as a songwriter, musician, a person who spends the majority of my time on stage in front of people and trying to promote yourself constantly, is how do you keep that reach out there? I said, man, if I start talking to people, people are going to share it on their Facebook pages. So the more of reach that I can get out and interview people and talk to people, they're going to share it, and it all works out. It's cross collaboration, right? And that's the beauty of social media and these type of things. But it really turned into something that I had not expected. I mean, I really got the chance to talk to a lot of unique people who I knew maybe not so formally. I would reach out to anyone. Hey, any interest in coming on and just chatting with me online. You don't have to leave your house. You just have to open up your computer. I mean, you can do it from your phone if you like, but
pretty much
you just have to come on and I'll ask you a few questions and we'll just have a chat. It's just having a yarn, right? That kind of thing. So
yes, your rapid fire questions was the favorite part of the second season that you've done, and we had like Mark Manning and Larry Foley and Vicky Foley as well. Those are some of my favorite parts about the second season of the podcast.
Yeah, that was something I added in there, and once again, just for a bit of a laugh, right? Just to try to get and try to kind of break people out of their shells. That's one thing that I always loved doing is, okay, if I'm just chatting with you about music, okay, we're talking about the songs, but let's see what your favorite topping is on pizza. I don't know, why not? Give the people what they want. But once again, to get back to your original question, you did ask me about some of my favorite episodes. There's a couple in there, right? Brian Aylward, I thought was absolutely hilarious. Comedian Brian Aylward.
Yeah, from the Best Con Comedy Tour.
Correct, yeah. And hilarious interview. One thing I love about Brian, he tells it like it is. He doesn't sugarcoat anything. I think that episode was probably a little rated R, but I mean, if you're into that kind of humor, it was very, very funny.
Yeah, that's what explicit tags are for.
Exactly. Nick Sexton, who's a great filmmaker, just directed the feature Skeet. It's just out right now.
Oh yeah.
He had done a documentary on COVID, essentially, is what it was, and about his a family member of his, and I had Nick on, and he was in Toronto, and had a real good conversation with Nick about his filmmaking career, working on Rick Mercer Report and the different things that he's done. That was a really, really cool thing. Who else did I have? I mean, Vicky Foley, it goes without being said, absolutely hilarious. I mean, one-liners for days in that one. Shout out to Vic. There you are, Vic.
Vic.
Yeah. But those are some of my favorites. And along with, some of the great musicians here we have in the city, and just there's so many that are hard to even name.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I really enjoyed watching those when you were releasing those. I think it was every 2 weeks that you've had them on during COVID. And then once you started getting really busy into filmmaking, that's pretty much been put to the side now. But of course, this leads into my next question. How did that lead you into the filmmaking industry?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a long story, but I'll try to dial it back as best as I can. But another thing that kind of came out of COVID, honestly. So, as a songwriter and as a musician, as a performer, my job solely was to perform music. That's how I got paid. It's how I made a living. And
exactly.
I was kind of looking down a dark hole going, how am I going to switch this around? How am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to do this, right? So I got a call from a buddy of mine who was working in the locations department on a scripted film set, who were shooting Hallmark movies and Lifetime thrillers. So this is all made for TV kind of movies. And he said, listen, man, I know you don't have much on the go right now. If you have any interest in coming on the film set, there's a job there for you. He's like, I will not lie to you. It is the absolute bottom of the barrel. You will be sweeping floors and changing garbages and cleaning up after people, essentially. If you're interested, there's a job there for you. And it pays okay, And I said, you know what? I was thinking about it, and, maybe a shot to the ego, I guess. You're so used to being on stage in front of hundreds of people, and then to go and sweep up after people and clean up after them. Excuse me. But I thought about it, and I said, this is kind of a neat little segue. Maybe it's something I can get myself into. And I know the type of person I am that I just need an in. If you can get me in through the door, I'll make my way. And he said that to me too. He said, man, you're going to get in here. You're going to start with this job. But he's like, I have no doubt you're going to work your way quickly up the ladder. So I worked with that same company for about a year and a half doing different films. I think we shot almost, I'm going to say 11 or 12 Hallmark and Lifetime movies.
Wow.
And that time I worked as a locations PA. So I worked in the locations department. Then I worked as the assistant locations manager. So I helped scout locations and also helped manage the locations when we were on site. Then I moved into the art department, which I was happy with. I was really, really happy because I'm an artistic person. I was an art director. And then I became production designer, which is I created the image and the look for, I think, 3 different Hallmark Christmas movies and a Lifetime movie, with no experience. I mean, I just got thrown to the wolves. I mean, just, I'll be honest with you. Tara Lee Gerhard, I'll give her a shout out. I mean, she really gave me an opportunity and let me kind of run with it. She had said that, the world is your oyster. I'll give you any opportunity you want. And I said, she came to me one day and she said, we're looking for a production designer for the next movie. And I said, Tara Lee, I have no idea what that means. And she looked at me, she said, you'll figure it out. And I said, all right, I'll take the job. So I took the job, went home, I bought a book, How to Be a Production Designer. And I Googled it. I just did my research like I do with everything. I just figured it out. And I came up with a plan and then I did that. And then I went away for a couple months. I was down south playing some music. And when I came back, the production designer had been filled. So I asked her, I said, is there any positions available? She said, we have an opening in the directorial department. So as an assistant director, she said, would you be interested in coming on as the third AD, which is the third assistant director? And I said, hell yeah, sign me up. I'll do it. No idea what that means either, but I got it. And I did at that point. I knew what that job entailed, but I'd never done it before. But it's a lot of managing people and managing expectations and, some urgency and also making sure you hit timelines and all that kind of stuff. So I did that. Anyways, that all worked out great. And long story short, to get to the East Harbour Heroes thing and how I've been, is that what you wanted to hit on?
Yeah,
now?
pretty much next, because now you are one of the minds behind East Harbour Heroes. Your song Pirates is actually a theme song for it, and you are now the narrator of said show. How did it all come together?
Once again, it just kind of spiraled off of the Hallmark things that I was doing and the Lifetime stuff. But I ran into a friend one night, probably 2 years ago now, around Christmas time, a friend of mine who works on the show. She's from Newfoundland, but she lives in Toronto. And I was just chatting with her. I ran into her one night, hadn't seen her in years. I lived in Toronto for several years, but I knew her from Newfoundland and I knew her when I lived in Toronto. But I ran into her one night at the pub and we just, we're having a chat and I asked her what she was working on. And she said she'd been working on this brand new show on the Discovery Channel called East Harbour Heroes. They were working on season 1. And we were just chatting and there was like nothing talked more about that. She asked me what I was doing. And I said I was doing a little bit of film work as well. And we said goodbye. That was it. And she went on her way. Fast forward about 8 months later, I get a random call from her. And she said, hey, you working on anything right now? And I said, no, I'm not. She said, well, we're looking for a field producer to hire locally for season 2 of East Harbour Heroes. And I said, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know what that means.
Because that's from the large part of like, your career in filmmaking, you've pretty much been thrown to the wolves of like, okay, what is this role? What is that role? I don't know what it means, but you'll figure it out along the way.
It is. And I mean, that's been a big part of my artistic life anyways. I mean, you're always trying to roll with the punches. You're always learning on the fly. You always have to come up with new ideas, come up with new things. So, she gave me the call and I, I did an interview with the producers who were in Toronto who had no idea who I was. And they said, you think I asked them what the job was. And they said, your job really, and I'll lightly quote this, but your job is to go in and you need to be the person on set who is comfortable going up and chatting with people and making people feel comfortable. Essentially what she was saying, you need to go in and be best con. But they didn't know what that term meant because they're from Toronto. And I literally said in the interview, I said, you're not going to find a person who's going to do a better job. I said, I mean, I don't have much experience in this, but I promise you I'll do a good job. I mean, I can't give you any more than that, but you're not going to find a better person. And they said, all right. And a couple of days later, they hired me. So on season 2, I worked as a field producer, which means I worked with the production team in Toronto, but I also helped the camera team on set and on the ground. I did a lot of work. We traveled all over Newfoundland, and I was lucky enough. I got to story produce a couple stories from some episodes, and then we wrapped our season 2 in March or April, roughly, and we got greenlit for season 3.
Awesome.
Which was great. So I got a call this year, and I got asked to be brought in as the field director, which is another role that I, once again, had no idea really what I was doing.
Like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, exactly. That's I kind of had an idea. I knew what the directing role is like in a television show like this. You know, it's not a reality TV show. It's more like a docu-series. We follow the lives and the workloads of a bunch of different people and different companies and different individuals, say. But once again, my job was to go in there and be best kind. And also now my job is to, you know, I'm in charge of asking the questions. I run a lot of the questions. And I'm like, this is perfect. This is what I did on my podcast. I'm so comfortable in that role. So that's what we've been doing. We're about, I'm going to say 75% through season 3 right now. I actually just got off set about an hour ago. And yeah, it's been great so far and really, really cool to learn in this new role.
So when will we expect season 3 of East Harbour Heroes to air?
Yep. So season 3 is coming out in May 2025, so it'll be aired next May. And you did mention that I did have a song featured. It's the theme song, Pirates, from my 2015 album, self-titled album. And I also do the narration, which is another weird hook, honestly. I don't really know how I pulled that one off, but I did somehow.
That is pretty insane, and I'm glad you're doing some great work with East Harbour Heroes. Now, of course, you're first and foremost a musician and a singer-songwriter. That's really the main reason why you're doing what you're doing. But it's crazy how like that and all your connections you made through music and through podcasting has led you into the current career you're on right now and the current path you're on right now.
It is, you know, and I always tell people this all the time. It's the two kind of go hand in hand. There's a lot of musicians out there who work in the film industry. A lot of a lot of people I know who work because there's some great film work out there. There's a lot of productions going on. There's Hudson Rex or Son of a Critch. There's a new show, St. Pierre. There's been shows that have been happening here for the last several years that it's good work for artists. I mean, sometimes just playing music doesn't pay the bills, so it's good work and it's kind of gone hand in hand. So I love it. Honestly, I love being able to do both things. I really, really, really enjoyed, I gotta say. It's such a unique show to work on as well. We get to travel all over Newfoundland. We're up in Labrador. We're in Nova Scotia. I get to see communities and little bays and islands that you've never even heard of before. And we get to go there and film. Some days I'm literally there pinching myself going, I cannot believe I'm getting paid to do this today, right? So very, very cool. And I couldn't be more ecstatic for the opportunity, honestly.
For sure. Now, you have your 4th studio album, Long Way to Go, out November 8th. By the time that this drops, it'll be out this coming Friday. And you're going to be doing an album release show at the Ship Pub on Saturday, November 9th. Andrew Rogers will be opening. What can people expect for that show? So how's it going to go? Yep.
So like you say, the album comes out on vinyl and on all digital streaming services on the 8th of November, which is the Friday.
So no CDs this time?
No CDs. And if you like, I'll explain why. But I don't think I'm going to do CDs. Actually, I'm not going to do CDs. I mean, listen, being a musician and a recording artist is hard enough, especially making music and making records these days is very, very difficult. It is very costly. It is so expensive. And I'll be honest with you, you don't make any money back on recording these days. It's more of a promotional tool than anything, right?
Yeah.
I have boxes of CDs at home from my last records. Not many people listen to CDs. I mean, it's, there's still people out there who collect CDs, but, they don't have CD players in vehicles anymore. It's a dying art. I mean, and to be honest with you, vinyl is kind of on a resurgence. I mean, not kind of, it is. Vinyl.
Yeah, it outsold CDs for the first time since 1987.
Right? That's the year I was born. So that's,
Wow.
Exactly. So that's the first time since the year I was born. So it's
insane.
I don't believe I'm going to do CDs this time. If I do, I might do a small run maybe just to kind of have and maybe sell at some shows and stuff like that. But with the expenses that I have into the record already, it's just not something that I'm interested in paying in right now.
Yeah, for sure. Now, before we get to the actual show and promote that a little bit, how excited are you to have your very first vinyl record of your own music?
I'm absolutely pumped. I mean, I wanted to do this for Talking Back Fool. It didn't work out. The timing wasn't right. The funding wasn't right. I didn't have the proper assets in order to do it. But I made it a priority this time. It's been something I've thought about doing in a long time, and I'm really, really excited. I got the test vinyls in the mail just last week, so I had a chance to finally actually sit down and listen to my own music on a vinyl record, which was amazing. I mean, if you listen to vinyl records, the sound quality is off the charts, right? You know what I mean? Not to quote Lex Griffiths there, but it is absolutely off the charts, you know?
Sexy Lexi, baby.
Yeah, exactly. But
yeah, he's someone else I want to get on this podcast too, but carry on.
Yeah, no, it's very exciting to, you know, to have something coming out on vinyl. And I'm also very proud of the artwork. Andrew Boyd did all the artwork on the record. And, you know, it visually looks really cool, and it also sounds great, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, it looks great, too. And all the songs that you've sent me so far do sound great. And I can't wait to hear the rest of this album when it does come out on November the 8th. Now, November 9th is your album release show at the Ship Pub. Andrew Rogers, who put out an album himself, let it out back in July. He's opening up for you guys, and then you're going to be playing, I believe, the full album back-to-back for the first set, and then mainly Dave Whitty classics and covers in the second half. So what else can people expect when you have your album release show November 9th?
Well, you got it. You nailed it there. I mean, I haven't quite announced this yet, but why not? I'll announce it now. Who's going to be performing with me that night? Obviously, Andrew Rogers, fantastic songwriter. I mean, I can't say enough about Andrew. We were just chatting a bit before we got going here. I just spent a week with Andrew in South Carolina during a hurricane. We lost all power, so me and him ended up just sitting around playing a lot of guitars together. And Quote the Raven were there as well, another fantastic duo. But Andrew Rogers is going to open up the show. He has a new record just out, and he's having a big album release, I think at the end of the month as well. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say that, but he's having one at some point here anyways.
Well, I'll share it when it does become public, though.
Yes,
so.
yeah. But so Andrew's going to open up the show, and then so Andrew's going to play like about 9 o'clock for 45 minutes, and then we'll set the stage for my band, which is that evening. It's going to be Nick Coltis Clark is on drums, Alex Abbott is on keys, Jordan Thorne is playing guitar, and we got Peter Green coming home from Nova Scotia for the show. So it's going to be really exciting. Like you mentioned, we're going to play the whole album front to back during our first set. So we'll play all the record in the order that it is on the record. And then we'll take a little breather and maybe grab a pint, and then we can all kind of loosen up the shoulders a bit, and then we can come out and we're going to do a bunch of old classics from a bunch of my other records, and we got a few fun covers thrown in there, and we're going to make a bit of a night of it. The thing about this show is, I'm hoping, and I think it will be, but I'm really hoping to have a nice listening audience, obviously, especially for the first set. My favorite part of being a songwriter, Zach, is being able to tell the stories of the songs.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a very important part of my songwriting is to being able to tell the stories, and that's a good way to have people connect to the music. So that's what we're going to do. First set, brand new album, Long Way to Go, front to back. Little break, and we'll come back the second set, Whitty covers or Whitty classics, and a couple fun covers.
Whitty covers. That sounds like a show you can do by itself.
There you go. Yeah,
you can trademark that now. Trademarked. Now, what's the differences between Long Way to Go and say some of your other albums? Like, what can people expect on this record?
I think my music has evolved quite a bit over the years, and I'm proud of that. I mean, not everybody is going to love everything you do. Okay.
Oh no.
But I don't think, I think that if you don't evolve as a person, as a songwriter, as an artist, you're going to get stuck in a hole. You know what I mean? Like, listen, one thing I've always been told about my music is it sounds like me. When you hear a song, you say, that's Dave Whitty. That it's like, it's got its own kind of style, its own flair. Another thing I always do, and I'm also very proud of, is I don't really pigeonhole myself. I kind of let other people give me a genre. I don't really know what genre I am. I guess I'm a folk rocker /
singer-songwriter,
alt country / singer-songwriter. But there's always elements of different genres in my music. I mean, sometimes it's poppy, sometimes there's a little reggae in there, sometimes there's a little funk, sometimes there's a little hard rock. It really it differs. But one thing I did try to do on this new record on Long Way to Go is try to keep things sounding a little similar. Not as to what my old music sounded like, not that it's that far off of that, but I wanted the songs to kind of all tastefully play together. So that is one thing I did. Excuse me. That is one thing I did, and I think by hiring, a guy like Josh Van Tassel to come in, he really set the tone, because he set the set the tone with his playing on the record and the style that it was going to land itself in. So, it's not too far off the old stuff by any means, but it's definitely got a new little sound to it. It's a bit more contemporary, maybe a bit more Americana, that genre, that kind of, Blue Rodeo-ish, that kind of feel, that kind of thing.
Wonderful. Now, of course, we've pretty much tackled what's going to be next for you. You have your album release show at the Ship, November 9th. You're working on season 3 of East Harbour Heroes. For people who want to find out more about Dave Whitty and what you got coming up next when it comes to shows, any content you got coming out, and anything Dave Whitty, where can they go? Yeah,
so, I've been pretty fortunate over the years. You can follow me basically at Dave Whitty on everything. Excuse me, there's not really many Dave Whittys out there who have a social media presence. So obviously I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, you name it. I'm on all of them, and they're all at Dave Whitty. Obviously all the details to my upcoming shows and all that stuff is on my website, www.davewhitty.com. I'm all over the place. I'm always posting weird content and funny videos and songs and all sorts of different stuff. So come follow me. Yeah.
For sure. Well, Dave, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you here on the Musical Connections podcast. I've learned quite a bit of things about you and from you, really, when it comes to podcasting and stuff, because it's crazy to believe that I'm 99 episodes deep into this show, and I'm still learning a lot about music and podcasting and just life in general. And the one thing that we do have in common, though, is our love of hockey. Me, go Habs, go. You, the Leafs.
Go Leafs, go. And also, congratulations on your podcast and your show, obviously, here. 99 episodes is a great feat. There's nothing that's very, very, very fantastic to get that far. It's not an easy job, and it's good that you're getting the guests you are. And thanks for everything you do for the arts community as well, Zach. You're a staple here.
Well, that means a lot, man. Thank you so much. Sometimes I don't think myself as a staple. It's just me, trying to be a little bit humble. But pretty proud of how far this podcast has come since I first started it back in November of 22. But I'm looking forward to having you on again when something else does pop up when it comes to new music. East Harbour Heroes, we can talk all day about that. But Dave Whitty, thank you so much for coming on, and thanks again for doing this.
Thank you so much, Zach. Go Leafs, go.